Hi, I'm Avory.
And I am Lily.
Welcome to From the Closet. Today we're covering The Incredible Hulk, and can you believe it's still 2021 when we're recording this?
I can.
Yeah, it's like we're really far ahead. But yeah, I'm kind of glad we're getting through the MCU slightly faster than I thought we would. But this movie is boring, like really, really boring. Um, and that's
Oh, by the way, we're watching The Incredible Hulk.
we already said that.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah, I said that. But
a
yeah,
short-term memory span.
so The Incredible Hulk, for a long time, this movie was debated on whether or not it was canon, and I forget whether Shang-Chi or What If came out first. But whichever one came out first confirmed that this movie was, in fact, canon. But I'm pretty sure they completely retconned the whole 200 beats per minute thing with Bruce Banner's heart rate because that never comes back again. Now it's just anger, and that's it.
I am angry.
And then,
Hulk.
also there's the fact that, Edward Norton, the actor who played Bruce Banner, was recast as Mark Ruffalo going forward. Uh, Betty Ross, never seen again. The scientist guy who started transforming into a monster, um, we never see him again either.
So many people were never seen again.
We do see Thaddeus Ross again, the general, and we also see Abomination again. Um,
So,
so
we're continuing the trend of evil bad guy has the same superpowers as the hero.
but uses them for evil. Except, it's not quite that because, well, like, not entirely that because he's got the super soldier serum on top of that. And this is the first time we see the super soldier serum, which is actually just like a bunch of different serums that are trying to copy the original super soldier serum. And it was alluded to that the original super soldier serum was created during World War II in this movie. We will eventually get to that. We will actually see what the original super soldier serum was for, who it was used on, and everything, and why.
I feel like I know what movie this is coming up with.
And we'll also see why there have been so many attempts to recreate it, but and why they just don't have the original formula anymore.
Hmm. So, what is the next movie?
The next
Because I
movie is
feel like I can guess.
Iron Man 2.
Oh, okay. And after that,
Thor.
okay. What is Captain America?
After Thor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um. Also, oh wait, is Loki at Thor 1?
Yes.
Yes.
Loki is in all three Thor movies.
Cool.
But yeah. Speaking of which, Lily decided that she wanted to go and watch Loki despite not having seen pretty much anything.
It's pretty good.
But she barely understood a thing. But
It
anyway,
was still good.
regarding this movie, we will see Abomination again eventually. But let's talk about this movie. It's boring, quite honestly. But okay, so one thing that this movie I kind of appreciate this movie for doing is not going into detail about how the Hulk got his powers because this movie released in 2008 and we had just gotten a Hulk movie 5 years prior to this. So it's like, oh, everybody already knows how the Hulk got his powers. We don't need it explained again. And even if you did need it explained again, it was kind of briefly explained. anyway. It's like when Thaddeus was talking to Emil Blonsky. But anyway, Bruce Banner was working on radiation resistance, he believed. But secretly, it was actually creating creating a new type of super soldier that was using gamma radiation as like a as a front. Like it wasn't an attempt to recreate the original super soldier serum. It's an attempt to create something entirely new that is similar. And
Makes sense.
Bruce Banner was so confident in what he was doing that he tested it on himself because again he thought it was radiation resistance, which to me does not make sense. If you're a scientist, how do you not understand the project that you're working on? That just seems like a recipe for the project to fail. But hey, what do I know?
Anyway, you know how curiosity killed the cat?
Yeah, so ever since that day, Bruce Banner has been living with gamma radiation poisoning, and whenever his heart rate reaches 200 beats per minute, he transforms into a monster called the Hulk. And he doesn't have control over himself in this state, and he just goes on a raging tantrum and destroys everything. So the
Oh yeah,
U.S. The U.S. military wants to track him down so that they can create more like him. Um, so he goes into hiding. When the movie starts, he's hiding out in Brazil and working for a soda bottling factory. The U.S. military finds him because his blood makes it into one of the soda bottles, and Stan Lee drinks it and dies. And
Stanley canonically dead in MCU.
well, this character, who is the Stan Lee character, the Stan Lee cameo, is dead. Yeah, canonically, but there are multiple other characters that are like Stan Lee cameos. I don't think they're the same person. But anyway, the U.S. military finds out about this. They go to Brazil. They try to track him down. Um, and we also meet Emil Blonsky during this time, who's going to be the villain of the movie, or one of the final boss, I guess, because Thaddeus Ross is really the villain. Um,
Final boss.
yeah. So eventually, they're the military's chasing him, and eventually he turns into the Hulk, destroys everything, somehow makes his way to Guatemala while still in Hulk form, and then eventually reverts back to Banner, and the entire time while he's been in hiding, he's been trying to find a cure for his condition, and he's been communicating with a scientist in New York City.
Mr. Blue.
Yes, Mr. Blue. But yeah, so now it's down to a point where they have to where Bruce has to get the original data on everything regarding what was injected into him, and that data is with his old girlfriend back home in the U.S. So he has to travel back to the U.S. And he believes the data would still be registered under her account, but it turns out that they've wiped that account, or they've wiped it of that data. But so at this point, he believes all hope is lost. But Betty Ross just happens to notice him, and it's revealed that she put all the data on a flash drive. Then we have another scene where the military attacks Bruce on a college campus, and at this point they've already injected Emil Blonsky with their variation of the super soldier serum. So he's like stronger and everything, but of course that's no match for the Hulk. Um, and the Hulk tears everything up. Thaddeus Ross almost kills his own daughter Betty, because that's a reveal partway through the movie. You're like, okay, fine. So they make their way to New York to meet the scientist, and they give him the data, and there's supposed to be this cure thing that'll cure him, but it seems to like only revert him back to Bruce Banner after transforming into the Hulk, and then it prevents him from transforming for a little bit.
Only a little bit, though.
Yeah, only a little bit. But
Also, I just want to ask, like, how much money are they spending on, like, the military spending on bullets? Trying to gun down the Hulk, and nothing's happening.
yeah, like all the bullets are just bouncing off of him.
At some point you'd be like, maybe we're wasting bullets.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's let more. You need more bullets.
So yeah, after the Hulk's fight with the military at the college campus, Emil Blonsky's bones are pretty much shattered and destroyed and everything. But that super soldier serum heals him up really quickly, and he's back to working condition. Like he's back in good shape in no time and ready to go into a fight again. So with this, he shows up after like the military has already captured Bruce Banner and Betty Ross, and he shows up to this scientist's lab and commands him to put in the stuff that was put into Bruce Banner, because this scientist actually copied it. And the mixture of the super soldier serum and the stuff that was put in Bruce Banner creates Abomination. And Abomination just starts tearing everything up. He's like stronger than the Hulk, obviously, and also like capable of forming more structured sentences. Because it's still Emil Blonsky's mind, it seems. But when Bruce Banner's in the Hulk form, he's not like they kind of establish that it's not really that it's not really Bruce Banner's mind controlling the Hulk.
Would we have like split personality when it comes to the Hulk or something?
Yes. And that'll be explored more later. But yeah, so Bruce Banner and Abomination, like the Bruce Banner decides to just jump out of the helicopter, and it looks like he dies, but then oh, he's the Hulk now. Okay, Hulk versus Abomination fight, and yeah, that's about it. Hulk versus Abomination fight. Hulk wins, doesn't kill Abomination. Seems like he's being turned over to Shield. As for where he went after Shield, we will find that out later.
And then Tony appears, is like, you have a problem. I have a solution.
Yeah. You have a problem. We're putting a team together and everything. It's kind of surprising there's no post-credit scene in this movie.
I mean, I think they just didn't have an ending. They're like, so let's make the post-credit scene into the ending.
Well, I feel like, that last scene with Thaddeus and Tony Stark in the bar would probably have been the post-credit scene if this movie was made by Marvel, and not Universal. But then also there's there is a good ending where we see Bruce Banner has gone off to British Columbia, which is in Canada, and learns to control the transformation essentially. But also, I do want to say, fuck you, movie, for that one scene where Bruce Banner and Betty Ross are like kissing and everything, and his heart rate starts to go up, and he's like, "Oh, I can't get too excited." Fuck you for making me picture an aroused Hulk.
Why, Avery? Why? And I have to admit, I thought the same thing.
Yeah. So it's more of why movie, why? God. Like,
You were just the one that brought it up.
yeah. Mm. It's just, I don't like this movie. It's one of the few Marvel movies that I actually really don't like. I find it incredibly boring. The main theme isn't even that good or memorable. Um, and it's kind of disappointing little how little other Hulk stuff is in the MCU because Universal owns the the Hulk franchise. So it's like we're finally going to be getting She-Hulk. I think sometime next year. Whether or not we get Red Hulk or Scar or A-Bomb is kind of up in the air. Those are other Hulk-like creatures in the MCU. Not in the MCU. There are other
Hmm.
Hulk-like creatures in Marvel Comics. They completely abandoned the Planet Hulk storyline in favor of merging tiny pieces of it with the Thor Ragnarok storyline, which we will get to. But like,
So
if you're
we already covered.
yeah, I
Sorry.
was gonna say, like, if any of you listening are remotely interested in the Planet Hulk storyline, there is a movie adaptation of that, and we covered it much earlier in the podcast.
I'm just saying, like, we already covered this, so I do have to wonder. So in the MCU, does Hulk just go to his own planet, not really explore it, and never come back?
No, like he does go to the planet that we like see in the Planet Hulk movie, but
Hmm.
everything like, and we do get to see Korg and Meek there, but everything about the story there is very different.
But I'm wondering, like, what happens after that? Does Hulk go back to, Earth?
You will have to see.
Oh, great.
But yeah, so Edward Norton gets recast as Mark Ruffalo. Um, I think I very much prefer Mark Ruffalo. He's a generally funnier guy. Um, and also, there's other problems too with this movie, like how quiet everyone sounds most of the time in non-action scenes. And then the lighting is a bit weird as well. The CGI on Hulk is kind of strange. Um, it to me, it like honestly, it kind of looks bad compared to what we get later. Um, the CGI on Hulk in Avengers, which was just 4 years later, was far better.
We are always like, ooh, is this gonna be the longest episode? Or is this gonna be the longest episode? This is running up to be our shortest episode.
Yeah, I know. I'm struggling to find, things to talk about. So it's at least 30 minutes because I don't want it to be shorter than that because then it'll feel like, we didn't have much to say.
But that's the thing, we don't.
Yeah. We will see Thaddeus Ross again, and I do find that like I do find his character a little bit more interesting in later movies. In this movie, he's just kind of a douche for no reason. Um,
Yeah. Yikes. Like, we are trying to form like more of a run-on sentence, but I would like to say how just uneventful this movie is. Like, I haven't talked much in this podcast, but it's just I try to be attentive, watching this movie. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be like falling asleep during this.
yeah, like This movie really is just that boring. It's like by far the most boring movie in the MCU. I'm really glad I didn't go see this in theaters. Um, it's also not on Disney Plus, and I have no idea where you guys will be able to even watch it. Uh, for
Is it
like,
on Voodoo? I'm pretty sure it's on Voodoo.
yeah, I'm like 99% sure it's on Vudu. So I'll provide a link for it, like where you can buy it or rent it, like if you want to. Um,
I don't recommend.
Yeah, I genuinely don't recommend it. Like, honestly, if you're wanting to marathon the MCU, this is a movie you can probably skip and be just fine. But, I mean, there are references to this movie in What If and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So,
Hmm.
and then Thaddeus Ross does come back. Um,
If you want, we can like give our ratings and just talk about like the MCU, like where the MCU is going ahead
yeah,
and how we're gonna cover it.
Yeah, I think it's best to do that because like there's not much more to say about this movie and we could probably provide more clarification on like the MCU and I can probably tell you some things you don't know. So yeah, what do you want to rate this movie?
I'm not gonna say like from a quality wise, you have like the movies that were like you didn't even try, and movies that are like eh. Like this movie isn't but I'll never want to watch it again sort of movie.
Yeah.
So 3.
Yeah,
I'm saying like a 3.
I elected to give this movie a 3.8
Hmm.
cuz like it's by no means like, you know, terrible, but it's just boring. And like they were trying to make a decent movie out of it, but it's just not very good. It's boring. That's the
Me,
biggest problem. And it,
for me, anything below a 3 right now is probably me like the movies where God, this is terrible.
yeah,
And I can't say this is terrible. They tried. I see movies that didn't even try,
yeah,
but it
exactly.
just fell flat.
Yeah. So regarding the MCU, I do think they had kind of a rough start
Hmm.
with Phase One. Like Iron Man was great, but then you have the Incredible Hulk, which is arguably one of the worst MCU movies. There's one in Phase Two that most people consider to be the worst. Period. Um,
Hmm.
and then you have Iron Man 2, which is not very good either. And you have Thor, which, some people say is bad and other people say it's just okay. I'm in the it's just okay camp. Um,
Hmm.
then you have Captain America, which was really good. And then we finally get the Avengers.
Was like the first Avengers. Because I know I actually seen a few Avengers. Sorry, seen is friendly word. Um, Mostly I slept through them because I was young. Hmm.
Yeah, and now we got to cover them on here. But yeah, we are
You and
going to
me,
be
it was a
covering
drive-in.
for those listening, we are going to be covering the MCU quite slowly. We have a wheel that has several movies listed on it, and there are 19 spokes on the wheel. And um, at the end of an episode of the podcast, we generally will spin the wheel if it's not a free movie of the month or a TV show or our Christmas special. And if it lands on the MCU movie, in this case, Iron Man 2 is currently on the wheel, then we will cover that movie, you know, within the coming few weeks. So, there's always like a 1 in 19 chance almost every week, except for like a movie week, a free movie of the month week or a TV show week. There's almost a there's almost a 1 in 19 chance that it'll be an MCU movie. Um, And of course, you'll get to know what movie it is that we're covering prior to that because we kind of reveal it beforehand. Um, but yeah, it'll be quite a while before we even get up to the point where we're covering uh, Avengers, Avengers Infinity War, because like in my opinion, that's going to be the best Marvel movie. Um, but we will get there when we get there. Other than this movie and Planet Hulk, there are probably not going to be any other Hulk movies that we cover. I have no desire to cover the Hulk 2003 movie. We'll cover the She-Hulk TV show when that comes out, but well, not when it comes out, but like it's coming out probably next year, I think, and we will cover it eventually. There. That's better phrasing.
Yeah, that's definitely better phrasing. On my end, I'll say, obviously we are growing on Spotify and our socials. I'd be very grateful if you followed our socials. If you watch on Apple Podcast, 5 stars or 4, whatever you like. Whatever you feel like we deserve.
Yeah, honestly. And then
If you do a 1, I might cry. Just kidding.
I kind of feel bad with this being our shortest episode, but there really isn't too much to say. This movie just kind of was boring and it dragged out scenes to try to, fill its runtime, which is what led it to be more boring.
Yeah, well, isn't that kind of what we're doing? We're trying to drag out this podcast to be more interesting.
Yeah, so we're at
This
25.
is just one big cycle of dragging on.
We're at 27 minutes if I'm reading that correctly. So I'm just going to go ahead and spin the wheel.
If we can read time, guys.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit far away from me and I have bad vision. You're not going to believe this.
Let me guess. It's the Iron Man 2?
It is. Iron Man 2.
Damn. I cannot get the gods of fate really want me to watch Marvel.
Yeah. So obviously, as further explanation of the wheel, since the wheel has landed on Iron Man 2, the Iron Man 2 slot gets replaced with Thor because that was the next movie that was released. That's how this works.
For other movies that do not have sequels, whoever picked that movie will obviously get to choose its replacement.
Yeah. That's how it works. And then yeah, that's pretty much it.
Wait, what episode is this? This is a very far episode to be explaining how we're actually doing this.
I don't know. I want to say this is episode 20 or something.
Ooh.
It very well could be with how far ahead we are. Because we just released episode 13 a few days ago. But we've recorded so many episodes since then that it's kind of hard to keep track. And then there are some episodes that we haven't even recorded yet that are going to come out before this one.
This is getting tangled up.
Tangled. I wonder, is Tangled on the wheel currently?
Knowing you, probably.
Yes, it is. Awesome. So yeah, probably next week or the week after, we will be covering Iron Man 2. So look forward to that. With that being said, I've been Avory, that's been Lily, and we'll see you next time.